I see us right now. Okay, I'm going to mute myself and then you can start letting people in if you want.
Okay, great. Thank you. Hello, everyone. Once you enter, we're going to start and see how everyone is. So for those of us that are still waiting to get online, I want to welcome you to Own Your Power and Temple Emmanuel. And my name is Ariela HaLevi, and we're excited to have you here tonight to Own Your Power, how to find empowerment and strength, that inner strength that we all need to get through tough times in pandemic and beyond. So I am still waiting. Let's see. Okay, so I see people on. Okay, so, oh, thank you, Lynn, for letting me know. No problem, no problem. So we're going to jump right in. And as people come, we'll just kind of I'll just admit them and we can join. So I'm on Zoom and I'm also on Facebook Live. And so I just want to welcome everyone here tonight for this hour-long conversation, discussion, and teaching and meditation. We're going to do a lot of experiential things tonight. I want to, thank you. I want to kind of introduce myself for those of you that I don't know. Again, I'm Ariela HaLevi, and I'm the co-founder of Soul Centered and the director of healing at Soul Centered. Soul Centered is a spiritual center that I manage, and I'm the co-founder with my husband, Baruch HaLevi, and it's really a center for healing, purpose, and meaning. Through intuitive guidance, healing ancestral lineage trauma, energy healing, and guided visualizations, I guide women in the afternoon of life, which is midlife and beyond, to heal the root sources of their issues and live emotionally, physically, and spiritually free. So I am going to talk about a little bit about what we're going to do tonight and really kind of recap first what we talked about last week. So in case you're jumping on to the Facebook Live this week, we had a class last week, which is on, I believe, Temple Emmanuel's Facebook page, also on mine. You can find it and you can get it on my website as well. But last week we talked about there's these 7 steps that I have created that are really the essential steps that I believe will help anyone get through life, right? So life is full of ups and downs. We really didn't expect a pandemic, but there has been worse, and there's been other things that have really challenged us as people and as a society and as a world. And so we are right now going through this kind of dark night of the soul, and it's uncomfortable and it's scary, and it's illuminating the stuff that we need to release, and it's shedding a light on what's not working in our world, what's not working in our personal lives. It's kind of just blown up our lives. And this is causing an incredible range of emotions, both within ourselves, within our children, within our elderly, and it runs the whole gamut. And it's really a time to do a deeper dive into the root of why we are suffering. We are not only suffering because there is a pandemic. Now, you can tell me, and I'll tell you the same thing. I feel, and I'm sure you feel at times, stuck. You feel like you are living within 4 walls and you can't get out. You're working from home. Some of you have kids home and you can't get a break. Some of you are completely isolated and you feel alone and lonely. And so this is a great call. It's a deep dive into looking at how to get off autopilot if we were on it before, possibly. I think most of us were, and how to find that light within the darkness. So it's time to take a great pause, which we have done in the last year. But now it's time to look at life as we get the vaccine, as we move forward. How do we cultivate a relationship with ourselves and with the divine that is sturdy enough to last through whatever we go through? Because there will be more. It's not to scare anybody, but you know, as a human being in your body, that you have had personal ups and downs probably most of your life. As we age, we have losses, we have many different things we've had to deal with. I had a personal loss 2.5 years ago that was a year long. I had my stepfather passed away, and then 3 months later, my mom passed away. 2 months before that, my real father had a heart attack. Life was a roller coaster. So this is pretty easy for me. But I say this because life is always throwing us ups and downs, curveballs. But when we cultivate these steps of oming your power, om is like that universal truth inside of us, then we have the skills inside to get through whatever we need on the outside. And so last week we talked about, I'm blanking on, we talked about time. The first thing we talked about was time, and really cultivating that time for ourselves, no matter where you are in life, to really settle in and find a sacred space for you to cultivate that relationship with the divine within you, with yourself, to take that time, which is so important, to move forward in life, to feel your soul, to listen to what's going on inside of you. And then we also discussed meditation. Meditation, just briefly, is about taking a great pause. It's leave taking without having to go on a vacation, because most of us aren't, right? So it's a mini daily vacation that we can do every day, if possible, to take a greater, deeper look. It's kind of pulling out of your life to say what needs to be added, what needs to be taken away, what is happening in our lives right now. And so finally, it's this invitation to invite the divine feminine presence of God, the Shekhinah. In Judaism, we call it the Shekhinah, into the pathways of our body and our spirit. And so I'm going to start with a brief meditation so we can all settle in, so we can kind of come into our bodies and our breath and our spirits. So wherever you are, I invite you to close your eyes and just take a deep breath in. The first step, as we talked about last week, was connecting your breath. Take a deep breath in and connecting that breath as you exhale to your soul and to your body. Another deep breath in and a long breath out, just letting the day roll off your shoulders, allowing yourself to be present as much as possible within your body. And as you breathe, just imagine waves of relaxation traveling from your head all the way down to your toes. And as you breathe, imagine a pathway right in the middle of your body. And this pathway is cultivated with your breath. And so as you breathe, just imagine there's like this road in the middle of your body going up and down your body. And as you breathe in, this beautiful light comes up from the root of your feet, like from the bottom of your feet, traveling all the way up this pathway, all the way up outside of your head, connecting to the divine and bringing her down, the Shekhinah, down into this pathway, all the way down to your feet. And so this is one tool that I use whenever I'm stressed or with my clients or my groups, is we connect on the bottom of your feet, like you have roots going into the earth. And then as you inhale, bring that light, this beautiful light, all the way up your body. And then all the way out through the top of your head, connecting to the divine, the Shekhinah, and bringing it all the way down, filling your body with love and light. Take a deep breath in and imagine that as you are calming your body, you begin to hear that still small voice within. This is the voice of your soul that sometimes doesn't come out because it's shy. And so as you breathe in and out, just imagine that this beautiful stillness is wrapping you like a talit. Like the wings of an angel, your talit wraps you. The talit is a prayer shawl that Jewish people use to put around them to create a sanctuary around their bodies so they can focus with kavanah, focusing their intention on connecting to their bodies, their soul, and the divine. And so breathe in and just imagine this beautiful self-created talit around your shoulders, engulfing you and helping you create your divine sanctuary. And as you are glowing with this beautiful place, just hear a gentle whisper. Be still and know that I am. And just allow this stillness to dive deeper into your relationship with the divine. Taking another deep breath in, and a saying by Rabbi Nachman called The Way Home. Center of all existence, help me find the way to that sacred sanctuary within myself, to that precious center of my existence. Help me discover my place in the world, that place where I truly belong, that space which belongs unconditionally to me. Dear God, I've wandered for so long. Help me find my way home. And so before we begin tonight's topic on mindfulness, before you open your eyes, I'm just going to invite you to open your palms and just invite your space inside of your body to be your home. And just for a moment, imagine that you are home. Whether you felt it 5 minutes ago or not, right now in this moment, you are home. Breathing into your heart, maybe taking your hands to your heart center and knowing that you are home. And then slowly, slowly opening the eyes when you're ready. And then I'm going to have, if you're not muted, I'm just going to ask you to mute yourself. That would be great. And we'll start with our discussion tonight. So as I said before, last week we talked about meditation and finding time. And those are kind of the building blocks. And we're going to add to the building blocks of owning your power, of feeling like you have a sense of who you are and creating this relationship with the divine. So mindfulness is an interesting topic. It's one of my favorite. I actually like talking about meditation and mindfulness together because sometimes we mix up the two. Meditation is a leave taking. Rabbi Alan Liu, in his book, what is his book? I'll have to think about it. I can't remember right now. He talks about this idea of leave taking. It's leaving your space. But mindfulness is bringing yourself back into your space, right? It's coming back into your life. It's coming back into everything around you, every single thing that you're dealing with. It's an invitation to jump right in. So whereas meditation is you're leaving the chaos, mindfulness is saying, I'm jumping right in. This is what my life looks like right now. These are the people in my life. This is the world situation. I've gone through all of this, and this is what's happening right now. And so it's an invitation to just be within it. It doesn't mean we're going to always accept it. You know, sometimes these moments are really tough, and we're going to get there. But finding the right balance between our relationship with the divine, like we talked about, building that relationship, and our everyday world is quite a challenge. It's really difficult and challenging to live in the ordinary world and yet be connected to source, to divine, whatever you call God, every day, all day long. I mean, honestly, it's almost impossible to be so connected to source all day long. However, there's a way to do it. The challenge is that busyness takes over. We get in our heads and we ruminate in our minds. Life is, we have all these daily tasks. We stop breathing. There's not enough time. There's too much time. And we have a lot of old junk packaged and stored in our body. A lot of our current life situations reflect our past limiting beliefs. So what do I mean? If you grew up, everyone grew up with certain beliefs and vows and promises that were really prominent in our family. Think about your family now. You have certain limiting beliefs in yourself that you pass down to your children. We just naturally do it. We try not to, but some things are passed down. Why? Because we're human. So those things, if they go unchecked, they become part of our daily dialogue inside of our mind. So wherever we go, there we are. There are our thoughts and our emotions are they're filled with the present moment. Each time we enter somebody's space, we enter are impacted by their energy field. So think about this. You have life, you have busyness, you have your to-do list, you have just the chaos of life, taking care of others, doing your work, everything. Then you have your old wounds, limiting beliefs. I'm not good enough. I'm not this enough. I'm not that enough. And then what happens is that as you enter, I mean, we're not going to a lot of places, but some people are still going to work every day. As you enter into somebody else's energy field and you unconsciously respond to it, then you're taking on other people's stuff as well. So it's interesting. If you know somebody, especially a family member that you live with, and they're really, really upset and they're really just in a state, if you go unchecked and unconscious, typically you can match their level of being upset or being mad or being angry. We're kind of addicted to each other, especially if you spend time with these people all day, all night. This is your family. So the energy impacts our own state of consciousness, other people's energy, and it shifts our mood. Have you ever been in a great mood and then you're in a crowd of people and you don't know why, but then you feel really depressed? This is just one example of not being conscious of the busyness, the to-do lists, and our own stuff, and then also other people's stuff. So a mindfulness practice is about going into all of this. It feels and sounds overwhelming, and bringing the divine into all of it. By regularly bringing the divine, I like to call her the Shekhinah, into our real world, we can break the effect of these negative or extra energy fields upon us and lift ourselves into a higher state of consciousness. It takes practice, but through this practice, we can build a strong mindfulness practice that enables us to join with the divine inside of our lives. Just as an example, because whenever I talk about energy fields, sometimes people look at me like I have two heads. Energy field is something like when you think about energy, you can't touch it, but you know that you're connected to somebody. You know that you love somebody, but you can't feel that love. You can't see it. You can't tangibly touch it. So energy is the same way. Again, if you've ever been engulfed in somebody's bad mood, you know that suddenly when you feel crummy, you're probably taking on their stuff. So really mindfulness is about going into every situation and saying, this is how I feel in every situation. And then protecting yourself and really grounding yourself, like the meditation we did, to know when it's your energy and when it's somebody else's. That's a different talk for a different time. So the practice of mindfulness is bringing a consciousness to everyday life. Who am I? What am I doing with my life? Is this situation good for me? It's a wake-up call. And really this is what the pandemic has done for us. It's kicked us out of unconsciousness in which most of us live our lives. And so mindfulness is a daily moment-to-moment flash of higher world meets lower world. This is the Shekhinah, this is us. It's this mindfulness is combining the two together inside of our bodies. Hopefully that's not too esoteric, and we'll get to that in a little bit. There's a Hasidic text, the Or Haganuz, talks about this idea and suggests to us that as we go about our daily lives, rather than think of our body as simply a mundane physical entity, we can think of it as holy ground that carries within it light and consciousness from the soul. So we're going to get to the body in a little bit, But this idea that mindfulness comes from the idea that our bodies are not just these physical things we're carrying around, but they're holy vessels for our soul. So we can visualize our body as the support for the expansiveness of our soul. And I think it's amazing, just to pause here, that Judaism has so much to say about the connecting of body and soul. And so often in, I don't know, normal Judaism, there's no such thing as normal Judaism. By the way, I don't know if some of you know, but my husband is a rabbi. So I was a rebbitzin, a rabbi's wife, for 17 years. And we had a large congregation in 2 different places in the country, and lived in Israel for a long time. And so I've seen a lot of different types of ways that Judaism is practiced and also taught. And what I always love is to teach about this Kabbalistic mystical idea that mindfulness is an intertwining of earthly body and spirit. So it's really beautiful. We are a place where the Shekhinah dwells. So the Hasidic text goes on and talks about imagining that the light of the Shekhinah, this feminine presence of God, rests above your head and radiates out into all directions all around us. And we can visualize as we go through our daily routines that this beautiful light is always around us. So you may, if we were together in a room, you may look at me funny and you may say, really, do you really think that we're going to focus on the divine all day long? And I would say, of course you're not. Of course you're going to get caught up. Of course you're going to be upset. Of course you're going to have highs and lows. That's the lesson of being here on earth. That's why you're here, to learn how to dance with the divine. It's a practice. You're not supposed to be good at it because you're learning how to dance. You know, when someone learns how to dance, they mess up, they make mistakes. We always make mistakes. But are you trying? Are you on the path to consciousness? Are you attempting to intertwine the different, are you attempting to intertwine that relationship? And we're going to get more specific on how. And I'm going to talk about the formula for living in mindfulness. But when we're distracted, when we're triggered, when we're tested, the idea, like I said in the beginning, is to really keep your center on the divine inside of you. I like to see it as a dance, again, between myself and the divine. I'm taking 2 steps forward and then I take 2 steps back. The divine is always here, but it's us as earthly beings. Today I feel this way, I move back. Today I feel much better, more connected, I move forward. It's this dance. And it's learning how and just being open to starting to cultivate this mindfulness. For those of you that are on the Zoom, if you do have any questions, just let me know in the chat. But I'll move on as long as there's no questions. Are there any questions? Okay. So let's talk about a formula for living in mindfulness. The first step is to practice getting centered. Like I said, it's a dance. We are human, we're going to be triggered, but having a meditation practice. So this is where meditation and mindfulness also do a dance. Having a mindfulness practice, whether it is meditation and you're sitting, or it's, as we talked about last week, it's walking outside, walking the dog, or listening to meditative music. I love binary beats. If you've heard of binary beats, it's a certain type of rhythm of music. You can Google it on YouTube. There's like hundreds of binary beats. It works with I believe the alpha or theta. I think it's the theta waves in the brain, because I think those are the parts of the brain that is for calmings, but don't quote me. Anyways, if you look up binary beats on YouTube, that is a wonderful way to start. Oh, did someone say anything?
No.
Okay. That's a wonderful. Oh, someone's coming on. Okay, 1 second. All right. So binary beats are just one example of really tapping into that mindfulness practice. Again, I daily take my dog out. We go out to the Lowry Dam, if you know Denver. And he takes off and he runs through the hills, and I watch him and I play my favorite music, and there's no one out there at 7 o'clock in the morning, and I sing. You don't want to catch me, but it's just so much fun, and I feel more connected than anything else. It's this new practice I've been doing of singing. I listen to old music that I love. I happen to love 70s music. I turn it up really loud and I sing my heart out. And if you see me, you can see me with my hands open, and sometimes I dance. Um, but that's part of my mindfulness practice. Some days I do it, some days I do other things, but do what makes your heart sing. That's what my suggestion is. So I digress. Um, Hi, Dory. Nice to see you. Um,
Sorry I'm late.
oh, no problem. No problem. So, Dory, we're talking about mindfulness.
Mhm.
So practice getting centered. It's a practice. This is the number one in the formula for getting centered. So for the example I'll use in the Torah, Jacob, we talked about this last time. He was grounded and meditating in Beersheba. Now, Beersheba, Sheva is the number 7 in Hebrew. And the Torah commentator says, well, 7 is the number of days of creation. So on the 7th day, God rested, Shabbat, right? So Jacob is known to rest and go into his mindfulness practice in Beersheba. And when he goes to Haran, Haran means anger. Haran is a place, but he traveled to Haran. It was filled with anger. And instead of taking on all that anger, the commentaries say that he remembered his center from Beersheba, and he took himself to Haran, even surrounded by anger, he was still focused and centered. So this is the invitation that no matter what is going on around us, because there's always going to be, God willing, not pandemics, but there's always going to be things going on around us. It takes practice, but getting that mindfulness is really important. The next step is resting. I call it resting in the divine. Often we are so busy running from one place to the next, or we are so isolated right now that um, we become, I think we become too busy. It's different when you're isolated in your home. You want to be more busy. So I know that there's two different things going on right now in our world. It's the ones that are taking care, the parents that are taking care of their kids are way too busy, and the adults that are home alone are way too isolated. But resting is a place that you can find no matter where you are in life, where you can find your creativity, your playfulness, and you can let life come through you. It's receiving. The Talmud says that the divine found that there was no better vessel, there's no better vessel holding place to hold, um, sorry, the divine saw, that God saw that there was no better vessel to hold blessing than peace. So the divine enters and gives a blessing when there's peace. If we are restful, we are more peaceful. Then we will receive divine blessings. We will receive mindfulness. If we're so busy, think about your days. I know on the days that I'm running and chasing the clock and running from one thing to the next, I don't have time to receive. Receiving is very feminine. If we're running, we're letting all of our energy out like running water through a cracked pot. But if we are resting, then the divine dwells within us and we are receiving that mindfulness and that calmness and the gifts that we are supposed to receive, the creativity, the playfulness. We remember. In Kabbalah, there's two paths that join in the middle of our bodies. So we're not going to get fully deep into it, but I'm just going to kind of go through it. So you've heard of the tree of life within us. You know, there's a prayer. It is the tree of life. You know that Eitz Chaim Chi. That's the tree of life within us. The right side of us is love. The left side of us is more judgment and strength. And in the middle is where we become whole because we join those two. Have you ever met someone who's too kind of overly loving, too gushy, needs some boundaries. And then the other side of that is someone who has too many boundaries, not loving enough. The mixture of that is your middle path. The middle path is where the divine enters, because that's where there's harmony and balance. That's where there's unity and wholeness. So when the left side and the right side meet together, we're coming together in that resting place in the center of us. When we rest in the divine and remain centered in the core of our being, then the divine can run through us. So this mindfulness practice, this idea of allowing the mind, the divine within us to flow through us, is a practice that can help us through crisis. And this practice of resting in the divine sets us up for when times are tough. There's two types of people. One is that when you're on your knees and crisis happens, you pray to God, you pray to anybody that will listen, but you don't have this relationship. It's just a breaking open. The other is this person, there's no judgment because we're all, that person at every time, at different times in our lives. The other is a person who's cultivated the relationship. So when the waves come, they're like, okay, I see the wave. It's hard, but I have the center within me. So I challenge us all. I'll let somebody in. So I think the challenge here is to become more solid in the divine, in mindfulness, so that when we go out into the rough waves, we have a steady boat. Our boat is solid. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense. The next step is being present in your mindfulness, present moment awareness. We all contain our own answers. We have all the answers within us, but often we go searching for all those answers somewhere else. We are all our own healers. As I said before, we have the divine within us. We have all our own answers. So present moment awareness is to say that sometimes we forget and we miss the mark. And being present is allowing yourself to be here now, to come into the now moment means that you do have your own answers. You allow all your thoughts and all of your emotions to be here now. It means that you can reclaim your power by stopping the running and sitting in whatever you're dealing with right now. That makes you more powerful and empowered to make better decisions in life. You probably know someone who's constantly running around what's real in their life. And that may be you. That's perfectly fine. That's all of us at some point. But when we stop running and we take the present moment situation for what it is, then we can stop the fight. Then we can become more mindful. Then we connect with the divine. It's hard. It's a struggle because sometimes, as we've seen in the last year, life is hard. I think if you've been on social media, you see that, especially in the beginning, I can't, I look at Facebook sometimes and I'll have friends that say, I've watched every single Netflix movie possible. I have nothing else to watch. Or I've eaten every single thing in the cupboard. I have nothing else to eat. Just all these ways that and we're all, we all do this. This is normal. And we've all been through a great deal. But imagine when that happens every single day, all day long, you start to feel kind of crummy, right? Your inner voice is like, this doesn't feel so good. I need something more. The challenge is that if you stay in that present moment, then you have to feel the hard stuff. You have to feel how isolated you feel. You have to feel how crummy you feel. You have to feel that monkey mind. Have you heard of the monkey mind? The monkey mind is that, it's a Buddhist kind of saying. It's that the mind wants to drag you out of the present moment for anything. And the monkey mind is just like a monkey jumping from one thing to another, one thing another. And it only makes our issues bigger and scary, more scary. So living in the present moment, it's about really settling into the divine within you. It's about resting within you. It's about feeling what's going on inside of you. Feelings are like waves in the ocean. Feelings come and they feel enormous, and then they go and they get smaller. That's the majority of time when we don't want to be in the present moment. It's because we have big feelings. So if you think of a feeling, again, it comes, it's big, it might be joy, big joy, and then it's going to dissipate, and then it's going to come again, and then it's going to dissipate. So those are your feelings. And it's so important to remember that they are not you, and they're not scary when we feel them. So what I'd like to do now is a little meditation on becoming more present. Are there any questions before we start? Feel free to, okay, unmute yourself. Okay, so let's kind of solidify what we learned. And I like to experience it. I don't like to just talk. Let's experience what you learned. Let's close our eyes if you feel comfortable. And just breathe for a moment. And we did this at the beginning of class. We just allowed our breath to be present. So take a deep breath in and a long breath out, and allow your breath to become expansive. And as you breathe, let it get bigger. Breathe and allow. What if you created a mantra, a saying inside of your body, inside of your mind that said, breathe and allow? Inhale, breathe. Exhale, allow. Inhale, breathe in. Exhale, as you allow whatever is present here to just come to the surface. Imagine that your awareness is getting stronger and brighter. And as you breathe into this moment right here, notice how you feel. Notice where your emotions are, your thoughts are. Allowing the breath to invite your body to become more expansive. Imagine that it's so expansive that it's spacious from all sides of you. And so as you become more and more open to the present moment, more and more allowing, it's as if your space around you just got bigger and brighter, more spacious, more expansive, accepting all that is here. As you breathe, feel your body sink in, feel your feet on the ground, feel your chest rise and fall. And just be here now. Right this moment, how do you feel? Allow yourself to get curious about what's alive inside of your body. Imagine that you can tap in, if you're having a hard time, to exactly what you're feeling. Noticing if you're in the past or the future. Noticing if you're in judgment or acceptance. Become aware of your stomach. Sometimes we hold our tension and our stress and our fear in our stomach area. So becoming aware in the present moment, how does my stomach feel? You know the term, I can't stomach this. That comes from the idea that your emotions are stored inside of there. And so breathe into your heart center now and just allow whatever is here to be here. Sadness, joy, happiness, fear. And as you breathe in, notice if the present moment is still here, or maybe you've gone to the past or the future. And take a deep breath and imagine in the center of your heart, the divine Shekhinah. Imagine a beautiful bright light right at your heart in the middle of your body. That's why your heart is basically in the middle of your body. Remember, when you point to your heart, you point to the middle. This is the divine vessel where the Shekhinah comes in and rests inside of your body. so that you can remember that the divine is always with you, right here in the center of your heart. And take a nice long deep breath and begin to wiggle your toes and your fingers. And as you, I think we'll just have our eyes closed for a moment and just notice how that was for you. Notice how you feel. Notice if it was difficult or easy to stay in the present moment. And notice if you accept all that has been here in the last few minutes. Sometimes it's really hard to accept all that is here. And so just take a deep dive and begin to open your eyes when you're ready. And come back into the moment, into your chair, into your seat. And I'm just going to offer a moment for if anybody wants to share their experience of the present moment, or if it was easy, difficult, how that was for you. But there's no pressure to share, only if you want to. So if you do want to, you can unmute yourselves. Okay. I hear somebody. Oh, okay.
Well,
Okay. Oh, yes.
I just have trouble feeling the divine. It's hard for me to believe it. It's hard for me to think there is anything there that is divine. So I like what your 3 steps are. They make sense to me, and I can do that. But what I really felt was nothing.
And you know what? I really, tell me your name.
Linda.
Linda, hi. I love that you were honest. Someone else wrote in the chat, I had a hard time staying in the present because I was in the future.
Oh,
And really, this is, as I said before, I love what you said, because sometimes there is just this disbelief, like, really, is the divine really here and present inside of me? And it's a practice, and it's a question, it's a choice. Do we want to believe it? It's the first step in, believing is a loaded word. That's a big word. Do you believe in God? That's a whole other class in itself. The idea is that, the way I see it, I'll tell you the way I see it, is that life is challenging. And when I invite something greater than myself into my life, into my world, then I notice that life is a little easier, because when I'm left to my own devices, I struggle greatly. It's a control issue. And if I control my world, we're in deep trouble. And so but I really appreciate what you said, because there is no expectation that you believe in the fact that the divine is here. But maybe it's baby steps into, practicing. Okay, I'm going to meditate. Does that mean the divine is within me? No, yes, I believe so, but it's calming your mind and your body enough where you can just feel peace. And maybe peace is divine.
Hmm.
Does that make sense?
I can do that, because it's hard for me to think there is a divine to be in me. But if I can say the divine may be just a feeling of peace,
Mm-hmm.
that's a step.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. So watch how you feel about the language that people use. If I'm using the divine, that's why I switch it up, because people have an issue with, like, really, the divine's within me. If I switch it up, peace is sometimes easier for people to grasp.
Mm-hmm.
So I appreciate your question, Linda. Lynn and Nancy talked about this idea that, you go back and forth in meditation to the present moment, and then pulling yourself back in and out. Nancy was saying she went a lot into the future and fear. And that is a place where we go. Metta meditation is what I believe is a Buddhist form of meditation, of loving kindness meditation. So there's different types of meditation. So Nancy was saying that she's been doing that all day, which is most of the day, some of the day. So that's great. But it is interesting as we start this meditation, the idea of meditation, I like what all of you are saying, is that it's so challenging. There is no way that you can stay in your present moment because you're human. And what the human brain wants to do is to run this way, this way, and this way, and this way. There is no way to stay fully present. But again, it's that magic word, it's practice. See my chair? I sit in this chair every morning, and there are days when I just climb the walls. I'm anxious, I'm fearful. Yes, the ability to stay where I am now is the best I can do. That's present moment awareness. You hit it. You hit it. So that chair, or wherever you call your space, is a space to play out your stuff. Meditation doesn't mean that you levitate. I sat in meditation last week and I cried my eyes out, and I spoke out loud, and I was mad, and I was angry, and I was sad, and I was fearful. Meditation means you let it out. You express yourself. For me, meditation this morning was singing my heart out at the top of Lowry Dam. There's so many ways to peace. What is your way to peace? And once you find your way to peace, it's going to change. And the way you felt yesterday is not going to be the way you feel today. So it's playing with your practice, and it's using the language that works for you. That makes sense? I hope I answered everybody's question. It really is a practice, and it doesn't come easy, but I'll tell you what I have found after years and years of doing this. I mean, I've been meditating for like 20 something years. I have found a very deep awareness within myself to be okay with who I am. And to be okay with where my meditation practice is and my mindfulness practice is. It's the accepting and allowing, and being stronger when life hits the fan. That's the key, I think, because as I said, life is going to throw us curveballs. And so just cultivating that peace. Let's use the word peace. Okay. Oh, I could talk forever. This is fun. Let's go on to the next section. We don't have a lot of time left, but we're going to try and get to it. The next step in oming your power is embodiment. Now, we talked a lot about this idea that the divine is in you, but we're going to talk about 3 building blocks, which I like to think of as a braided challah, right? The challah has 3 strands that you braid with. 3 building blocks of embodiment: spirit, which we already talked about, that dwelling place for the divine; your soul, what is your soul mission here while you're in this body; and emotions. Emotions or feelings are the pathway to the soul. So we're going to get there, I promise. So let's talk about the soul. The soul is not the divine. Remember, the soul is this spark of light that you're born with, that when you're born into this earth, you have a mission, a purpose. That is part of your soul. It's unique to you. It's like your fingerprint. Let's imagine waking in the morning, and the body wants to stay in bed. And the mind is starting to rev up with all that chatter that it does. But the soul has just re-entered the scene. At night, Jewish mysticism tells us that the soul loosens its grip on the body, and it goes and it travels and it heals. You know how sometimes you have crazy dreams and you just don't know how they all happen? Sometimes that's the soul helping you heal. And it kind of connects with, this is Jewish mysticism, it connects with angels. It's kind of more free to fly. But when we wake up, we come back to our bodies. So the soul comes back in and is tied to our body. And while we're here on earth, we have this mission. Our body is just not hanging out here alone. It's not just a physical bag of bones and muscles, right? Because if you were just a bag of bones and muscles, you wouldn't have a personality. You wouldn't have a spark that makes you you. People love you because you're you. That's your soul shining through your body. Okay. Thank you, Nancy. I'm going to get to your question in 1 second. So that's your spirit. So when the morning arises and your body and soul come back together, it's Modeh Ani. It's this prayer that we say every morning as Jewish people. Thank you for reuniting our souls and our bodies together again. So this is the true definition of embodiment. It's remembering and returning and renewing to our relationships to our bodies in a way that we never thought was possible. I do a lot of work with women that don't feel connected to their bodies. Some are 75 years old and some are 45 years old, and everyone in between, especially women. For whatever reason, we don't always feel connected to our bodies. And so when I introduce this idea of embodiment, it's this introduction that our bodies are here to unite with our souls. The Torah tells us to take the utmost care of our soul. This tells us that our body and soul are together. The way that we take care of our souls is by taking care of our bodies and remembering that we're not a bag of bones. We're not just muscles and tissues. We are the soul shining through. So if you don't like the word soul, we have to choose another word. I'm not sure what else to give. I mean, I guess it's like your gift or your specialness or your light.
Your essence.
Your essence. I love it. That's perfect. Yes, your essence.
Not my word, believe me.
but it is. It's your essence. It's who you are. And so when we create a sanctuary for our soul, we're making our body a sanctuary, right? We learn so as we get older and we head into midlife and beyond, I call it the afternoon of life. Carl Jung called it the afternoon of life. The afternoon of life, as we are in midlife and beyond, we learn that our bodies, our bodies start to do crazy things. Some of us get ill. Some of us, all of us, go through menopause as women. Unless we've, had a hysterectomy, but all of us are going to go through bodily changes. If we think that we are just the body, we're going to have a hard time. It's a hard thing to live in this world and to adjust our eyes and our spirits and our minds to the fact that we're not just our bodies. So as we see our bodies age, we shine brighter with our souls. Our souls get more important as we age because we see that the body, I have gray hair, but it is colored. But we have, I just told that to the whole Facebook world. But we have, doesn't matter, I'm real. But we have this opportunity to really dance with this idea that our souls are getting brighter as we grow into midlife, as we get older, because we're recognizing that we're more than just this, that we're more than this. So that's one of the ideas of embodiment. The next one is, I'm not going to go too forward into it because it's so deep, but it's about spirit. So we talked about that a little bit. You've heard of chakras in the body. Chakras is more of a Sanskrit. I'm a yoga teacher, so chakras are a big deal for me. Chakras are basically energy centers in the body. In Judaism, we have the Sefirot, the tree of life. It's very similar in some ways. They are just energies in our body. And again, I won't go through this, but I think it's in May or I don't know when we count the Omer. I can't remember exactly when. I think it might be mid-May. I'm teaching a course for women based on the Sefirot. So hopefully you'll join me and we'll kind of dive deeply into that.
Whom are you teaching that with?
I'm teaching it with Temple Emmanuel.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. So that'll come out soon. I think it's during counting the Omer, in between Passover and Shavuot. So that will come out closer to that time. So we'll do a deeper dive into that. But this idea, and I'll just touch on it, is this idea that we have energy inside of us. Again, we're not just made of the skin that you see. And those energy centers are pockets of openings for, let's say, for peace, for source, for God, whatever word you want to call it. It's where peace enters. And we could go on, but we only have 5 minutes left. So we're going to table that one. But the next one is about emotions. And I wish I had all night to talk about this. This is something I work with a lot in my practice. When emotions are the pathway to embodiment, because when we are feeling strong emotions, they are the blocks that they block us from feeling embodied. So what does that mean? When you have a strong emotion, when you're feeling intense fear, do you feel connected to yourself? No. Do you feel that peace? No, you feel intense fear. When you're worried about something, or when you have an old wound come up, if you've been, you have trauma, or you're going through something really difficult, you're going through loss or something, or an illness, and you have strong emotions about it and you don't feel it, it gets stored in your body and it becomes blocked in there. And it's really hard to find that peace. So feeling your emotions is is an invitation to peace. So when you really feel something and you let yourself have a good cry, or when you let yourself feel really angry, most of us say, I feel better, right? If you ever look at a baby or a toddler, she's happy, she's fine, and all of a sudden she's throwing a tantrum and she's out of control. Well, she's had a strong emotion come in for whatever, maybe you didn't give her her sippy cup or whatever it is. She goes ballistic, out of control. She feels it all, especially if you're one of my children. You feel it all. And then what happens? She's fine. It's like it never happened. I have teenagers. It's the same thing. It's the same thing for us. When you allow yourself to feel your feelings, then you create an opening inside of yourself to feel that peace. That's embodiment. It's kind of a weird thing to think about. If you are somebody who stuffs your feelings down and keeps them tight to your skin, then you probably feel a lot of anxiety and fear. I have been that person. I have had a lot of anxiety in my lifetime. And the only thing that has helped me feel embodied is to feel strong emotions that I have. And then I have to tell you, the fear goes away. And when it comes up again, I'm right there for it. And then the fear goes away. And eventually that stuff that made you feel really scared, eventually, if you give yourself the space to feel it, it doesn't come back again. Depends on the issue. But if you give yourself the space to feel, then the pathways are all opened up so that you can really feel your peace, your source. Okay, so there's a question. Let me just go into questions. Okay. Is it fair to say that expressing your emotions honestly doesn't necessarily resolve the issue? That's a really good question. Expressing your emotions doesn't mean that your relationship with your spouse is going to get better. It's not a promise. Expressing your emotions honestly means that you're going to get clarity, perhaps, on the situation with your spouse to help you navigate forward and give you guided steps to move forward in it. If you think about when you're really stuck in the anger and the fear, you're really in it. We don't typically make good choices based on being so angry. When we feel, take your space, there's your space. Take your space before you act. Feel your feelings before you act. That is the number one thing in our household that we have learned after a lot of years, that you go take your space and feel your emotions, and then you come back and we talk it out. So it doesn't matter how old you are, you can learn this. Feel it to heal it. That's kind of my tagline. So that's really, to me, if I could stress one thing tonight, embodiment and feeling that peace and feeling that source inside of you and working on your present moment, your mindfulness, is about feeling your emotions. Okay, so hold on. Can I say it out loud?
Yeah, sure.
I'm feeling the need at this time of my life to be very honest with my emotions and feel that I can deal with whatever the consequences are. So I love that, because again, it's not about acting on strong emotions. It's about feeling them and then making the decisions that you need to that's guided action. And I love that. It's really being honest with how you really feel. Look, I think as we enter into a pandemic and B, midlife, because a lot of the women that I teach are midlife and beyond, we get to this point in any of our lives where we say, oh my God, life is short. Wow, life is much shorter than I ever thought when I was 30. And we get to this pivotal point. You may have that memory of when your light switched on. For me, it was my mother's death. It was a few times before that, but really what slammed me into reality was my mom died. I don't have a mother physically on this earth anymore. And wow, life is way too short. So what do I need to do and how do I need to feel? And what wounds do I need to heal in order for me to move forward, in order for me to live my best life? Like you said, Dory, with the consequences, there are consequences. You might have to change pieces of your life.
Mhm.
And those are the consequences. And sometimes they hurt. I've done many things that have been hurtful, but necessary to live in the present moment and be honest and open with who I am.
Mhm.
And so it's super important as we head into this period of life, wherever you are in it, to say, wow, what do I want to do with the next phases of my life? Who am I? That's owning your power. In conclusion, like that is really owning your power. That's taking a stand. What we did, and it seems so silly, is that we spent the first 6 or 7 months of pandemic in our trailer. We bought a trailer because the freedom of the mountains is something that is so deep into my soul. It's something I did as a kid, and I stopped for a long, long time because I was having babies and children. And I turned to my husband, we moved to Colorado, and I turned to my husband and I said, look what's out there. That's me out there. See those mountains? If I don't get out there, then I'm going to always regret it. And that's just an example of, thank goodness he agreed. So we bought a trailer. Our kids don't love it, but it's really important to have that quality time for us in the mountains. It's freedom. I get to think about all the things of my life. It's like a meditation for me. So what in your life do you need in order to really be present? What do you need to feel? What do you need to live for the rest of your life? What things do you need to do for the rest of your life? Okay, hold on. If I won't say who wrote this, but what do I do when who I am isn't liked by those who are important to me? That's a really good question. A really hard question. It depends on who it is, A. It depends on your relationship, and it depends on how, I think it depends on the relationship. But wait, I want to sit with this for 1 sec. Do you like the person that you are in this moment? If you can stand by the person that you are in this moment, then can they either get on board or can they adjust? Or I don't know who these people are, but sometimes it takes an adjustment in the relationship. And for a while, you may not be liked. I have a client who disrupted her whole family because she didn't play by the rules anymore. And it was such a disruption that she couldn't, it was hard for her to deal with the ramifications of her living her truth. But they came around. Okay, so sometimes it is people close to you that don't like who you are and what you're doing. So the first question again is to get clear with your path. Get clear inside of you. Feel your emotions. Feel that hard stuff if they don't like you, if they're having a hard time with you. Get clear, take guided action. How, if this relationship is important to you, how can you still stand in your light and be in a relationship that looks different? And how can you stand by yourself first and foremost? That's how you, yes. So I hear a lot of us on the call are saying that this is a pivotal moment in your life where you feel like the decisions you're making or who you are right now isn't what everybody else likes about you. It's not, I will say, it's not about blowing up your relationships. It's about being truthful to who you are. It's not about making huge mad choices and throwing them all out of the water. We need people, but we need it to be in a healthy situation, in a healthy relationship. So how can you start to change the nature and the boundaries of the relationship slowly with love? That's the key, because these are people that you love. So there's two different emotions. There's love and there's fear. There's everything in between that is either love or fear. If you love these people, then put that at your center and remember that you love them and that you are doing the best you can in love, and make choices from that loving place, and make choices for yourself from a loving place as well, by owning and oming your power. That's right. That's right. You guys are wonderful.
I've been in that place and never thought I would get out of it. I always thought that there would be this difficult, horrible connection that wasn't what I wanted.
Mhm.
And my first task was to know who I was, accept myself for who I was, identify it, articulate it to myself,
Mhm.
and then in a loving way, say to this other person, I love you. I will always love you no matter what. This is who I am.
Right.
And hopefully over time, we'll get to understand each other. And it's only taken 10 years.
But it's
That's
beautiful
all.
what you said. It's about loving yourself and loving the other person. It's a
Yeah.
two ways. It's a pathway to yourself and accepting yourself for who you are and the ways in which you do need to change, you do need to grow. And hopefully it's a relationship that is malleable, that can grow. And if it's not, it's feeling those feelings of sadness that come with it. There are relationships that are difficult to shift and difficult to mold differently than the way we've always done it. But the key is to love through it and to love yourself and stand by yourself.
And to be patient.
Yeah.
So the midot of Kabbalah, Musar,
Mhm.
are what I've learned to live by.
It's
And
beautiful.
having that as my structure for who I am was crucial.
It's so beautiful. It's very, very true. Very true. It's creating a relationship with the divine is what you've said. You use Musar, which is kind of like Jewish self-help. It's like the characteristics of our personality and our self. What Nancy uses may be different than what Dory uses, and what I use may be find what works for you and what speaks to you, and use that as a framework to live in our relationships, to own our power. That is really the key. That's beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. Thank you. Thank you. Anybody else have any thoughts? Anything you want to share? Thank you, Lynn. Thank you. It's been so wonderful connecting with all of you. I'm going to put my I'm going to put my email and my website. What's my email? In case you want to continue or you have any other questions, please feel free to email me. And there's my website. On the website, I think I told you last week, there's a complimentary download. It's called Own Your Power. So it has all of these tools. We go into much deeper work here because I use Kabbalistic tools here with us. But if you want to get a gist of it, and kind of follow along, feel free to download that. Thanks, Lynn. Feel free to download and to check it out. And again, feel free to email me if you have any questions at all. I'm
I
here.
can't see your website. Where is that on the screen?
Oh, I directed, whoopsie, hold on one second.
To
Direct
me.
message it to
Send
you.
it to me, not to the group.
Right. Okay, hang on one sec. Okay, everyone. My only challenge is technology. Well, I mean, I have other challenges, but okay, here is my email one more time.
Oh, it just left.
Oh, it did?
It was on
There you
there.
go.
I saw
Okay.
it.
Do you see the website and the email?
Yes.
I see the email, I guess.
Oh, okay. It's www.mysoulcentered.org. I'm going to try it again. You see that?
Yes. And would I be able to see your last, your February 2nd? I missed that. By
Yeah.
going to that.
Yes. So I think the temple, if you go onto Temple Emmanuel's Facebook, it's on there. It's also on my page, Soul Centered page. They're both on there.
So do I get to the soul centered page just by saying soul centered in the?
Yes. If you go into Facebook and you write Soul Centered, it should pull up for you.
Okay, great. Thank
If
you.
not, just email me and I'll get it to you.
Okay, thank you.
All right. So I hope you have a beautiful night, and it was so nice connecting with all of you. And next week we are also meeting for our last class, which will be at 7 p.m. Mountain Time. So I hope you join us for that as well.
Will you
Thanks,
send
Ariela.
another link for that?
Yes. Did the temple send out the link today?
No,
Okay, I'm going to ask them.
No.
It is the original link that you got.
yeah.
So
that's
if
what I
you,
want.
yeah, so
They did
just
not update it though.
email me if you need the link again. I can send it to you personally.
And your email is that Ariela at mysoulcenter? Okay.
Yeah.
Soulcentered.org.
Yes.
Great, thank you.
Okay,
Thank you.
you're welcome. Have a beautiful night, everyone.
You.
Whatever. Good
Bye.
night. Good week. Bye-bye.
Thanks.